It's your boy. This is Applying Theology as we continue to talk about Gideon in the book of Judges. Yeah, we are on part 6, I believe, of the Gideon saga. And we have saw that Gideon is a scaredy cat. And we're going to keep saying that, man. But it's awesome that God can use such a person, man. To reflect on it just a little bit is that I think the first Gideon part that we talked about, the angel of the Lord said, great and valiant warrior. That's what he calls him. And now we're about to see him actually walk out that which he was called to. A little bit today and probably more tomorrow for sure. Anyway, let's just jump into it, man. We're in Judges chapter 7, part 5 of the... part 5 of the Gideon saga. It says, that same night the Lord said to him, arise. Let me back up, just see the same night is that after we dwindled down the people. They started out with 22,000, I believe, and then lost 12,000 because they were just scared. So they had 10,000 left, and then God said that they're going to short them down a little bit more. And so he gave him like a drinking test, and they left him with 300. So that way they can't say that they won the battle on their own. They have to know that it was the Lord who gave it into their hands. And so it says, that same night the Lord said to him, arise, go down against the camp, for I have given into your hands. For I have given it into your hands. But if you are afraid to go down to the camp with Purah your servant, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward your hands shall be strengthened to go down against the camp. Then he went down to Purah his servant to the outposts of the armed men who were in the camp, and the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the people of the east lay along the valley like locusts in abundance, and their camels were without number, as the sand that is on the seashore in abundance. And when Gideon came, behold, a man was telling a dream to his comrade. And he said, behold, I dreamed a dream. And behold, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and came to the tent and struck it so that it fell and turned upside down, so that the tent lay flat. And his comrade answered, this is no other than the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. God has given into his hand Midian and all the camp. And as soon as Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped. And he returned to the camp of Israel and said, arise, for the Lord has given the host of Midian into your hand. And he divided 300 men into 3 companies and put trumpets into the hands of all of them and empty jars with torches inside the jars. And he said to them, look at me and do likewise. When I come to the outskirts of the camp, do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then blow the trumpets also on every side of all the camp, and shout for the Lord and for Gideon. Ain't just something, man. So what happened? Number one, what happened? What occurred in the story? Well, God told Gideon, get up, man, it's time to fight. And then he gave a provision. He knew Gideon. He knows Gideon. He gave a provision, and he said, if you're scared, go down there. You'll hear a testimony or you'll hear a prophecy or a dream. And that dream will strengthen you, and you'll be able to do what I've called you to do. And so Gideon, being scared, that is a characteristic that we see. That's obvious in Gideon. So it's a strong narrative point that the author of the Judges wants us to know. Gideon's a scaredy cat. So I don't feel bad about saying it. And he goes down there, and he hears these 2 guys talking to each other. And he's like, man, it's like a bread. What did he say? I think it was like... a piece of bread came through and struck a tent, and it fell. It turned it upside down. He's like, man, a piece of bread rolled through camp, hit a tent, and it flipped it upside down, and made it lay flat. And then his other brother's like, oh man, shoot, that's Gideon, dog. That's his sword, man. That he came and he's gonna destroy the Midianites. He's gonna destroy us. That's crazy to think. They're talking to each other like, oh, this guy Gideon's gonna destroy us. They should be tripping, bro. They should start to tripping. but they don't do anything. But Gideon hears it, and he worships, man. He worships. That's the thing. Is that God revealed himself, and when he did, Gideon worshiped the God of all the universe. And said he returned to the camp, and he told all the people, it's time to get down. He says, you do as I do. You take these torches, and you take these trumpets, man, with you. And as soon as you see me do this, then I want you to do it at the same time. And as we do that, you're going to shout out for the Lord and for Gideon. So what do we know about God from here? Well, first off, God knows us, and he knows us intimately. He knows us, man. See, that point where he didn't even have to ask Gideon about if he's afraid or not. He knew he was afraid, and he knew he always wanted to hear something to help comfort him and strengthen him. And so because of that, he just straightway told him, he's like, bro, if you're afraid, then go ahead and go down to the camp. I got a prophecy, people talking about the dreams that's going to happen, and see, and it'll strengthen you. And it did just that. What God says he'll do it. It's another characteristic. He said he was going to show him something at this camp that would strengthen him, and he did. He showed him something that would strengthen him. So God knows us intimately and wonderfully, and he is faithful to carry out the word that he says he'll do. What's that about us? We predictable. Yeah, we predictable, But then second off, not only that, but we long to be encouraged, man. And I think God encourages us. Obviously, we saw that from the first, is that he strengthens us with his word, and that's a powerful thing. But in these last days, he's also called his church, his body of believers, the body that is to be the hands and feet of Christ, who is God on this earth now, is to strengthen one another, encouraging one another, because we need encouragement. Therefore, we need to give encouragement. As we give and receive, we're strengthened together as the church. Well, what can we learn from this? Well, again, the same way that we've seen is that God is gracious, but not only that, but I think that we can rely on God and find our hope and strength in him. I know that we talk about the same things, being weak, but being strong in the power of God. This is what this story here about Gideon is essentially about, is that Gideon, being a weak man, has been strengthened through God. It's kind of a contrast, really, between the other one, where Barak is seen as a weak man, but Gideon is strengthened because he listens to God. He questions him a whole bunch, but he ultimately listens, while Barak didn't listen. And Deborah had to go out and get that dude to come and tell him, did not the Lord tell you to do this? So I think that's what's so good about Gideon, is even though he questioned, which is okay, ask questions, man, because what does God do? Reveal himself. And when he reveals himself, what do? We worship him. So that's the application right there, is that recognize that we're strong in him. But if you're going to ask, it's okay to doubt, it's okay to ask, talk to him, see what he has to say. Let him reveal himself to you so that we can worship. Let God reveal himself to you so that we can worship, man. So that's what we got to do. You take that, I'm going to take it too. And I'm going to talk with him, man. I'm going to ask him questions so that I can know God a little bit more. And as he reveals himself, I worship him, because now I can trust him just that much more.